everyone, welcome to Christina Cakes It. I'm Christina and today I'm showing you how to make silicone molds to make cakes. I've always wanted to try these really cool silicone molds to make cakes. I think they look so interesting and almost like modern art to me, especially this one. And so I thought today would be the day that I would create some beautiful cakes using these molds. So just a few things before I get started. So one, I did wipe down the inside of all of my molds with alcohol, and the reason being is that is going to help make the chocolate look really shiny on the outside and give just a nicer appearance. So I did that off camera. Also, I did bake these cakes ahead of time using the same silicone molds. So my little sphere cake is here, or bubble cake, I don't really know what to call it. And then my geometric heart cake as well. And I just used my vanilla cake batter and I added some sprinkles to make it funfetti. And I just baked as normal at 350 and they worked out perfectly. And lastly, I do have a little bit of cake pop mixture here. So this is just cake scraps mixed with a little bit of buttercream frosting. And I'm gonna use this for this mold because I didn't think I could bake a little tiny cake in here. I don't know, if you've tried it and it worked, let me know, but I'm just gonna stuff it with some cake pop mixture and almost make it like a giant cake pop. So as you can see, I have my candy melts ready to go, and I did just use Wilton candy melts, and I have white, lavender, and red. And for me, mine always get a little bit thick, so I always add Easy Thin to my melted candy melts, and that really helps thin it out. So I just melted these according to the instructions, so each of these took about 2 minutes total, just stirring it every 30 seconds. So I wanna do a few different variations. So for my geometric heart, I wanna do like a marble pattern. So I'm adding in some oil-based food coloring, and this is really important. This is oil-based because that's gonna help the chocolate not to seize up. You could also use gel food coloring with GoFlow, which I've done before, but I just went with oil-based food coloring. And I'm just going to lightly swirl this around. I'm not gonna fully mix it because I wanna get that marble effect. And from here, I'm just going to pour it into my mold. And I'm moving the mold around, trying to coat all of the sides here. Oh, and we're gonna probably have a little leak. I probably should have put a pan down. I didn't even think of that. I guess I could just put it right over the bowl. So I just moved it all over the entire mold, and there's a tiny bit of excess chocolate, so I'm just gonna pour that out. So for my sphere bubble mold, I really don't know what to call it. I'm actually gonna take a little bit of shimmer powder, and I'm just going to paint this directly onto the mold before I start pouring the chocolate. The goal is that it'll have a really pretty sheen on the outer coating. So I'm using mother of pearl shimmer dust, and it's of course edible, and I'm just using a paintbrush and painting the mold. So I'm just gonna do the same thing and pour in my candy melts and move it all over the mold so that the whole sides are covered. This one's gonna be a little trickier, so I'm just using a spoon to kind of help it. All right, and so my last one is this cool little bubble guy. And what I'm gonna do is take some red edible glitter and coat the inside as best as I can. So this one is the one I'm probably most nervous about. We'll see if it even turns out. Hopefully it does. So I'm just putting some glitter inside the mold using, this is actually a makeup brush that I got on Amazon. Got it for another cake, and oops, I got this for another cake, but I will use it for this as well. For this one, I'm going to pour all of this in. So I poured it all the way to the top just to make sure that all of it was coated. And then I'm gonna pour like all the excess out, and I can see that it's in all those crevices. And so the next step for all of my molds is I'm going to pop them into the freezer for 10 minutes, and I'm just gonna repeat the process, giving a second coat to really thicken up that chocolate layer so that it's less likely to break. So my molds just came out of the freezer. They were in there for about 10 minutes. And as I mentioned, I'm just gonna repeat the process again to give it a second coat of chocolate so that it thickens it up a little bit and it's less likely to break. So molds are out of the freezer for the second time, and now I'm gonna begin the next step of filling these with cake. So I'm actually gonna start with my little bubble here. And for this one, because I'm going to be putting the cake pop mixture in, I'm going to do this exactly how I do like cake sickles. And I'm gonna take my cake pop mixture and I'm gonna fill the shape here. Just kind of pack it in there. And just like a cake sickle, I'm going to give this a little coating on the back using my candy melts. I'm not super worried about the sides because when I peel this away, I can cut off, like if there's a little bit of excess chocolate, I can just cut it with a knife. So I'm gonna put this into the freezer while I work on the rest of my molds to firm up and chill. So again, for about another 10 minutes or so. So for my other molds, I'm just going to gently peel away the silicone mold from the chocolate. I'm just going really slowly here. Look how beautiful that is. I did have a little bit of a tiny break here, but not super worried about it. So the silicone is just peeling away from the chocolate. And I'm going really carefully. So that one worked. Kind of looks like a bunch of frosty grapes. All right, so to fill these with cake, I am going to invert them. And I just have some buttercream frosting that I'm going to pipe in here. And now I have my cakes, and I'm going to gently place them in. Yay, I got them both in. So now I'm going to put a little bit more frosting on each and turn them back over for the big reveal. Trying to pipe this with my left hand, clearly not working. So I'm gonna carefully turn this over and place it onto the cake board. Just needs a little bit more shimmer here. So lastly, I'm gonna work on getting this little guy out. This one is like really stuck in there. So that was really hard to get out, but how cool does this look? This is like a piece of art, but this is a cake pop. Could you imagine if like Starbucks started selling this instead of their like little pink cake pops? This is the coolest thing I've ever seen. but I think it needs a little more shimmer. So I'm just going to add a little glitter, just patting it right onto there. And I might clean up the sides a little bit. So as you guys saw, I did just cut away the chocolate a little bit, like the excess chocolate. I mean, that bottom is nothing to write home about. That's kind of ugly, but nobody's gonna see it. So my cakes using cake molds are complete, and they turned out even better than I expected. And they were also easier to make than I expected. So I hope that you guys enjoyed watching this tutorial. And if you did like this episode, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel.